Hello and welcome to the Business Talk podcast. I'm your host Deepak. I'm delighted to welcome Jeremy Fritzhand, a seasoned entrepreneur and business leader with over 20 years of experience in venture development, startup acceleration, and ecosystem building as our distinguished guest on today's podcast episode. Jeremy currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer of VentureStudio, where he leads strategic initiatives, mentors emerging startups, and enhances Ahmedabad University's entrepreneurial ecosystem. Before joining VentureStudio, Jeremy was the Director of Startup Services at Alloy Growth Lab, where he played a pivotal role in supporting over 500 startups, driving more than $40 million in revenue and securing $50 million in funding. He has led innovative programs such as Alloy Online, a digital engagement platform, and PeaceRise, a global initiative promoting peace-driven entrepreneurship. Jeremy's entrepreneurial journey extends globally, particularly in India, where he co-founded Studio Bagru, a social enterprise dedicated to revitalizing traditional block printing and empowering artisans. His work in sustainable business and cultural preservation has been featured in leading publications such as Forbes, National Geographic, Vogue, The Washington Post, and Financial Times. Academically, Jeremy holds an MBA in Global Management from Thunderberg School of Global Management and contributes to higher education as a Board of Studies member and visiting faculty at Indus University and Avantika University. He actively shapes curriculum design and mentors students in entrepreneurship and innovation. With a passion for building sustainable, impactful business models, Jeremy continues to drive innovation at VentureStudio, fostering a thriving startup culture and empowering the next generation of entrepreneurs. In this episode, Jeremy Fritzhand will share key insights from his research, the future of startup incubation, from virtual support to AI-powered acceleration. So without further delay, let's welcome Jeremy Fritzhand to the podcast. Jeremy, it's an honor and privilege to have you join us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Deepak.
Yeah. Jeremy, how has the startup incubation landscape evolved over the past decade? And what role has digital transformation played in this shift?
So, over the last decade, startup incubators and accelerators have exploded in number and reach. For example, in India, the count of incubators has expanded from roughly 20 in the early 2000s to over 1,000 now in 2025, according to Startup India. So, global incubator spaces have grown almost fivefold from 2009 to 2017 before the market really started maturing. So this boom was fueled in large part by digital transformation with the spread of internet and cloud technologies in rural areas, the lowered cost of starting a company. It's really enabled incubators to support entrepreneurs remotely at scale. So, for an example, at Alloy Growth Lab, during COVID, a lot of the programming moved online. And so instead of in-person coaching and mentoring, folks started to adopt a virtual incubation or virtual mentoring program. One of the programs that I led there called Morning Mentoring, which was a in-person monthly pitch feedback program, moved online and turned to a weekly format. And so as a result, this digitalized, accessible incubation really has exploded. And so it's allowed the incubators to expand beyond their physical borders. And it's really changed how I think incubation and acceleration has operated on a global scale.
Very insightful. Jeremy, with the rise of virtual incubation models, what advantages do startups gain compared to traditional in-person accelerators?
Sure. So there's several key advantages for startups, starting with accessibility. They can join the programs from really anywhere in the world. So founders in smaller cities or emerging markets can tap into a accelerator via remote connection. The virtual model also is more cost effective, so the startups save on travel and living expenses, and the programs themselves can usually charge a lower or no fee because they don't have to maintain any physical spaces. So I think Y Combinator has reported that around 50% of their winter batch back in 21 was international compared to 36% when it was in person. And so the virtual format also makes it easier for mentors to connect with startups. So it's really, like I mentioned, like changed the whole landscape.
AI is increasingly being integrated into startup support systems. How is it helping founders make better decisions from market research to investor matchmaking?
So, on the terms of market research, it definitely has made it easier to understand the market in which you're operating in. With Chat GPT and DeepSeek's research capabilities, you can outline exactly what you do and which markets you're operating in, and then have the AI pull a whole bunch of market data. Um, with really the most important aspect now is checking the work and going in and actually understanding the interpretation of the data, and then I guess validating also in terms of customer surveys and interviews. That's often kind of the first step that I suggest founders take when they're exploring an idea at the early stage, is to get as much structured feedback through these online surveys and interviews as possible to validate their ideas before they go on to the next step.
The pandemic accelerated the adoption of remote and hybrid incubation models. How sustainable are these models in the long run?
So it really depends on the activity of the program and if they really have the means to provide the support that otherwise would be offered to the startup. So um, at the backbone of a lot of these programs is curating the engagement, whether it's with the mentors and coaches or the investor relations, um, or the service providers that are supporting the startups in other ways, whether it's marketing, sales, development. Um, those are all important parts of curating the incubation experience. And when you do it virtually, it takes someone to kind of be the community engagement or um, the coordinator to make sure that those connections are being made. So oftentimes an incubator, one of the biggest value adds they can give to a founder is introductions and connections, whether it's to customers or investors. So it takes regular interaction with the startup to figure out what their needs are and then going out and making the introductions to them. Also sharing knowledge and teaching them the right way to reach out to those folks and ensuring that the startup is actually ready for those connections. That's a really important aspect of any coach or mentor's role, is to prep the founder or the founding team um, on when and how to interact with those folks.
Jeremy, most important question. How can virtual incubators ensure the same level of mentorship, networking, and community building as a physical spaces?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I mentioned, it really takes a kind of a community engagement leader or mindset within the organization to always be reaching out to the founder, understanding their needs of the moment, but then also on the other side, so curating the mentors, the coaches that are spending time with the founder. And then the network, whether it's like I mentioned, the service providers, the investors, ensuring that they're also getting value out of that relationship. So each of those stakeholders has a set of outcomes that they're looking for. So as an incubator or accelerator program, you have to make sure that you're providing value back to all of your stakeholders.
Has AI changed how startups attract and secure funding? Are investors relying more on AI-driven analytics when making investment decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think most of the big investment firms have some sort of AI engine that is doing an initial review of the applications and the pitch decks. So there's a few interesting platforms out there that have implemented the AI review process as kind of a first step of the due diligence. And then they'll have their internal review team go back and check the work, read through the applications, and ensure that the AI insights actually match up with the investment thesis of the firm before they take that first step of interviewing an applicant or going through any of the information in a data room.
Jeremy, what challenges do virtual and AI-powered incubators face in fostering meaningful investor-founder relationship?
Again, this really goes back to kind of curating your network as an incubator or accelerator program. That's one of the biggest value adds that you have is the network of stakeholders, whether it's investors or angels or service providers, knowing who they are, what they do, how they're interested in interacting with the startups, and then also understanding the stage of the startups that you're interacting with and what they're prepared to offer or put on the table to the stakeholders. Really guiding them through that process, making sure that they're hitting certain milestones before you offer those introductions is an important aspect of this role.
Jeremy, as AI becomes more prominent in startup incubation, do you see a risk of over-reliance on technology at the expense of human mentorship and intuition?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a risk of leaning too much on AI and losing the human touch that's so valuable in incubation. It's a powerful tool, and it can crunch numbers and spot patterns that are, way beyond most human capacity, but it cannot replace human intuition, creativity, and the personal connection of mentorship. I think I read somewhere, AI gives you information, but mentorship gives you wisdom. And so an algorithm might tell a founder what to do, but an experienced mentor can really explain why and inspire them to persevere. There's lots of ups and downs in the founder's journey, and a mentor and a coach can be there for that entire ride, kind of in the trenches with the founder, supporting them in the highs and the lows. I really see like an over reliance on AI could lead founders to really kind of follow cookie cutter advice from the data, but what they actually need is kind of individual insight. Sometimes they need creativity that really comes from human brainstorming.
Looking ahead, what are the biggest opportunities and challenges in scaling AI-powered incubators globally, especially in emerging markets?
So this one's kind of interesting. There's a big opportunity to democratize startup support. So right now there's still a limited number of these incubators and accelerators, and each of them has a different model, especially in emerging markets. So the real opportunity, I think, here is to leapfrog the traditional infrastructure constraints, and figure out how these startups can hit milestones without necessarily the traditional resources and funding that are needed. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with the networking. Virtual AI-driven incubators can change that a lot. I think I mentioned earlier, they allow an entrepreneur in a smaller city or a rural area to access mentorship, halfway around the world, or visit a virtual workshop that's being held in a different part of the world. Um, so there's lower barriers to entry for entrepreneurs. And I think we've already seen some early signs of this in India. I think it we host here the world's third or fourth largest startup ecosystem, and much of the incubator growth has been outside of the metro hubs. And because of a lot of the funding schemes that the central government is offering, they can avail those funds without necessarily being in a certain geographic location.
Jeremy, could you please share the journey of Ahmedabad University's VentureStudio and what type of key initiatives you do, and what type of startups are joining this incubation?
Yeah, so Ahmedabad University's VentureStudio was founded in 2011 in collaboration with Stanford University Design School. And from there, we've evolved a lot over the last 14 years. Now we have kind of a two-pronged approach. We have three specialized facilities on the Ahmedabad University campus. In the North Campus, we have a co-working and office space. On the Central Campus, we have a DST-supported Prayashala for engineering. And then we have a Department of Biotechnology BIRAC-supported BioNest that features biology, chemistry, and cell culture lab space. So the facilities are available for anybody.
That's fine, no problem.
Yeah, our facilities are available for anybody to use. There's a policy and a rate card for ad hoc usage. So that's kind of the first prong of our approach, is having these specialized facilities for the startups. Now, the second part of our approach is the funding schemes that we offer. So we offer 6 different funding schemes for entrepreneurs. And we'll start with the first one, which is called Nidhi Prayas. So that program supports entrepreneurs who are trying to build a physical technology, and it's in the form of a grant. So it's up to 10 lakh, and it also gives the innovator access to the Prayashala fabrication facility. The second scheme that we offer is called the NIDI EIR, or the Entrepreneur in Residence program. So that's up to 30,000 rupees per month sustenance, and it's designed for entrepreneurs who want to pursue their entrepreneurial journey full time and need financial support. So they also receive business development guidance, access to mentorship and industry experts, and office space at VentureStudio. The third program under the NIDI scheme is called the NIDI Seed Support Program, and that's up to 1 CR in funding, and that's designed for startups looking to raise seed funds in various sectors like healthcare, biotech, clean tech, and others. So the investment is against equity in the form we structured as a CCD. And that enables startups to graduate to a level for angel or VC investment. It helps them with access to market connections and business mentoring, product trials, and go-to-market support. So we also offer a Startup India Seed Fund scheme. That's typically in the range of 25 to 50 lakh, but up to 1 CR in extraordinary circumstances. So that's for startups to continue their prototype development, produce trials, market entry, and commercialization with a focus on technology-based startups. Then we offer 2 schemes that are specifically for Gujarat startups and Gujarat innovators. So one's called SSIP, which is the Student Startup Innovation Policy, and that supports student innovators and entrepreneurs with a grant for the prototype development of up to 2.5 lakh. Then we have the Government of Gujarat Startup Support Scheme, and that's up to 30 lakh. And so VentureStudio is a nodal institute for that scheme, and it's also for product development, marketing, and professional assistance.
Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. Your deep expertise in startup incubation, venture development, and ecosystem building has given us invaluable insights into how AI and virtual support systems are transforming the way startups grow, access mentorship, and secure funding. As we navigate this new era of startup incubation, your experience and thought leadership will undoubtedly continue to shape the future of entrepreneurship. Thank you once again for joining us and for sharing your valuable knowledge with our listeners. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me, Deepak.